which means 400 layoffs at a key logistics site with no sign of any of this ending soon. The Stellantis Detroit River Yard on Freud Street in Detroit will soon be about 400 UAW workers lighter with a new round of layoffs set forth. The European parent of the Chrysler brand says it's a needed move as they continue to retool American operations for a strong start to 2025.
Hello everyone, welcome back to today's episode. Now we're going to be talking about the auto industry and what's at stake now that the US presidential election has been held, and especially around electric vehicle mandate. You'll hear more about major job cuts from automakers like Nissan, Audi, and Stellantis, and what that means for the industry. This discussion matters to you as the automotive landscape directly impacts jobs, the economy, and ultimately the options you will have when shopping for a new vehicle. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel if you're new, and if you have to go before the end of this particular video, please do me a favor and give me a thumbs up. The algorithm will really appreciate it. So let's start off with recent news. Automakers are making big steps to cut costs and adjust to shifting market demands, and that means more layoffs are coming. Nissan just announced they have plans to cut about 9,000 jobs globally due to softening demand, and they're also selling their entire 34% stake in Mitsubishi Motors, which shows they're making sharp adjustments to lower cost and focus more on electric vehicles. Stellantis is laying off around 2,700 employees in Italy. The company is trying to balance traditional car production with the increase in demand for electric vehicle investments. Now, we're going to take a look at our feature video from Fox News Detroit. Fair use, and let me tell you, the train has been ongoing, but hopefully good sense will prevail in the end. Let's take a look at this.
Which means 400 layoffs at a key logistics site with no sign of any of this ending soon. The Stellantis Detroit River Yard on Freud Street in Detroit will soon be about 400 UAW workers lighter with a new round of layoffs set forth. The European parent of the Chrysler brand says it's a needed move as they continue to retool American operations for a strong start to 2025. That's when the layoffs will be effective.
The big picture here is that Stellantis has been looking to deal with lower sales, with lower profits, things of that nature. So they've been looking globally at areas they can cut.
Jeff Gilbert has been on the auto beat for decades at WWJ News Radio 950. He says Stellantis also is trying to be more efficient in how it operates. Stellantis says the layoffs are due to a plan to transition the Freud Street facility to a third-party service provider. The automaker says it's honoring its deal with the UAW by giving impacted workers supplemental unemployment benefits and continuing their health care coverage for 2 years.
What they're doing goes far beyond just cutting jobs. They've had major management shakeups. They've changed the heads of all of their brands.
And that's leading to more uncertainty for the workers as the UAW looks at possibly going back to the picket line.
The UAW has threatened to strike. They've taken strike authorization votes at a number of locals. Not all of those have passed, but a number have.
Well, we did reach out to the UAW to get a comment on these specific layoffs. We haven't heard back yet, but they've said in very recent time that they are continuing to keep pressure up on Stellantis to honor those agreements made 1 year ago. At Solidarity House downtown, Dave Kinshin, Fox 2 News.
And that was just Stellantis here in Detroit. Now, Audi plans to lay off up to 6,000 workers as it shifts to all-electric production by 2033, streamlining operations while attempting to meet emission standards. And these job cuts highlight a shift in priorities across automakers. They are grappling with rising production costs, EV mandates, and evolving consumer choices, forcing them to reconsider traditional production methods. Now, the Biden administration policies had required aggressive growth in EV sales through strict fuel economy and emission standards, and these mandates are ambitious, but here's the issue. Current EV demand doesn't match this push. For automakers, it's becoming a financial burden for them. Producing EVs is costly, often more than traditional vehicles, and this affects automakers' profits and puts a strain on operations as they attempt to balance the government's requirements with consumer preferences. Companies like Volkswagen and Stellantis have voiced their concerns, noting the financial pressure that these mandates bring to them. Now, a Trump victory could now mean a shift away from EV mandates. But what will that look like? Trump's team has suggested in the past that a policy that would replace existing fuel economy standards with regulations that reflect market realities. For traditional automakers, this would ease some of the financial strain, allowing them to focus on gas and hybrid models that consumers actually still prefer. For companies like Lucid, Rivian, and even Tesla, this shift could mean slower EV sales growth for them. And without government push, these companies might struggle more to gain traction in the EV market. And let's look at the state of California. California's zero-emission program plays a big role in the EV market. The state's policies require that all new cars be zero-emission by 2035, and 17 states have adopted similar standards. California's standards put forward by Governor Newsom double EV adoption rates compared to states without them. If now that Mr. Trump has been elected, his administration may re-evaluate California's unique ability to set these standards, potentially weakening its influence on the national EV agenda. This could ease regulatory burdens for automakers, but it will slow EV growth. Now, let's consider Tesla for a moment. Unlike many other EV manufacturers, Tesla is in a very unique position because it avoids any tariff that other EV makers will face. Tesla's American-made status helps it sidestep certain trade barriers and tariffs that the Trump administration wholesomely wants to introduce, which could help the company maintain a competitive edge, even if the EV mandate are rolled back for them. Tesla's brand and infrastructure give it a distinct advantage in the EV space, positioning it to succeed regardless of changes in the federal policy. However, traditional automakers have invested billions in EV production, and many have products in the pipeline. Any pullback on EV mandates will create hurdles as these companies adapt to the changing regulatory environment caused by the current administration. Trump's administration will take over effective in January. Now, consumer preferences tell a very, very clear story. EV sales, while growing, still haven't captured the mainstream market. Many consumers prefer hybrids, plug-in hybrids, or traditional gas-powered cars. And this reality adds complexity to the push for all-electric options. Across the globe, we've seen mandates pushing automakers to produce electric vehicles, but often these vehicles aren't what consumers are buying. In markets with strong EV policies, there's evidence of overproduction and underwhelming sales. Inventory sits unsold on dealer lots, and automakers are stuck managing the financial hit of producing EVs that don't meet, and they're not meeting the sales targets that they also put out in terms of projection, year-to-year projection. Then we also have to look at another major obstacle to EV growth, which is the infrastructure. California, for example, their electric grid currently faces challenges in supporting widespread EV use. The push for 100% zero-emission vehicles by 2035 is ambitious, but with current infrastructure limitations, it's very unclear if this goal is feasible. Expanding EV adoption demands reliable infrastructure, something that California and other states are still struggling with, even here in Canada. Now, the just concluded US elections might again reshape the auto industry's path forward. Automakers face a critical moment as they balance the government's mandates, shifting consumer preferences, and economic pressures. If EV policies loosen, we might see more flexibility for traditional automakers, but tougher road ahead for EV brands trying to grow. Now, I want you to stay in touch with this channel as we keep an eye on the regulatory changes and what they mean for the cars you'll see on the road and in dealerships. Thank you for watching and listening, and we'll continue to bring the updates as the industry evolves. The automotive industry is a cycle, as I've mentioned time and time again. There is a high, there is a lull, there is a flat lining, but most of all, it is always on life support. As usual, please share your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to grab a copy of my ebook, The Parts Manager Guide. Please smash that like button on your way out. It'll only take you 1.5 seconds to do so. Until next time.